So okay, let's start over. Hey everyone, welcome to another Tower of Babble podcast. As always, I am Julian Meush. I'm joined by Daniel D'Souza, Jeremy Kozier, and we are here to talk about the best of 2018, or maybe, as Jeremy mentioned before we started recording, our favorites of 2018, because we didn't see everything, right? That's always the disclaimer.
Especially with the Oscars and what's going to be nominated for that.
Right.
For the movie category.
And that is going to be something we talk about in our Oscar show, which is always one of my favorites. But that comes later. Those are movies from this year. But there's a weird thing, too, because like I feel like it doesn't exactly line up with the calendar date. That's fine. We haven't seen everything. That's the most important thing. So this is best of what we have seen, our favorites, right? And disappointments. We have one disappointment we'd like to maybe throw out there. I heard this once, there's two categories. What we think other people didn't get and what we didn't get that other people got. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't put any disappointments because I don't like to think negative.
Yeah, I get that. But we'll talk about both film, television, and games. We're going to save games for last, so if you're not into that, I think this is going to be a very good games discussion this year because there's a lot of very good games this year. So stay tuned for that at the end of the show. But we are going to start with television and then go into movies. But follow us on Twitter, Tower Babble Podcast, at Tower Babble Cast on Twitter. TowerBabblePodcast.ca is where you can find everything that we do. And you can send in your top 3 because we do top 3s. Because you know what? Top 10s, easy. Top 5s,
been there.
Who everyone does that. Yeah. Top 3, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough.
I think last year we did top 5s.
Good point. I think that is a good point. I believe we did do top 5s last year. We were busier in the sense that we watched more of the stuff. We're busier this year in the sense that we didn't watch more stuff. So send in your top 3s, top 5s, top 10s. TowerBabblePodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to see it. We'll definitely talk about it on the show if you do. Okay, so let's jump into TV. I'll go first with my number 3. I think we should say, before we get going, that if anyone mentions one of the things that's on your list, right, we talk about it the first time it's mentioned. We don't save it for later, right? And then we'll just mention where you placed it later. It might give away where you put it on your list by your reaction to it. But
I don't think anyone's worried about spoilers for the list.
Right, that's a good point.
Like no one's gonna be upset by that.
I'll be upset.
Okay.
Although I can see it here. All right, so my number 3 pick for television this year was BoJack Horseman Season 5. The show continues to be must-watch television for me. If there's a new season of BoJack drops, I drop everything to watch it. It literally fills me with every kind of emotion. I want to feel sad. It makes me sad. I want to feel happy. It makes me happy. It makes me laugh. I don't know if I've cried, though. I can't say I might have.
I think BoJack's got me pretty close, actually, more so than any other.
Probably cried then.
I almost definitely then.
BoJack made me feel shit that I didn't want to feel.
But it also and we've talked about the show before, but its ability by its sheer nature of the premise of these of animals and humans living together in this animated world, they're able to do so many creative things that you just can't do in live action, right? And explore ideas and concepts in clever ways. And obviously there's great animal puns in there too, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Well, the thing it does is it gives you an analog for real life, and it helps you explore these concepts that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do with a live action show because you'd be tied down to the action show itself.
Right. Well, or you're limited to what you can do with the format.
The format.
But so they do this amazing episode about dementia in the latest season.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that in live action. That just the way that they do it anyway, it just couldn't be done.
Sure.
It's so clever and heartbreaking. It's so
I'm pretty
good.
sure one of the episodes this season, it must have been this season. The entire episode is just him giving a eulogy. The entire episode is a monologue.
And then it turns out he was giving a eulogy to the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a one long speech basically about.
So they do a lot of daring things like that. They're definitely pushing the boundaries of what the show could be. The one thing for me with that show is that it doesn't. The show itself is fine. The characters don't seem to be evolved. Like BoJack isn't getting better or worse. He's still like a shitty, selfish
It's
guy,
tough, right?
which is not necessarily what you want. Like you don't. It doesn't need to be tied up with a bow and a happy ending. But it does. There doesn't seem to be a lot of evolution.
So I think you see it in the characters around him more than you see it in BoJack himself,
And I
right?
shouldn't say that. No. There's a ton of evolution, but it's a miasma. It's constantly changing. It's not like they're progressing. It's people are going.
Right, but isn't that kind of one of the themes of the show is that they try to change and they can't?
To a degree,
right?
that's how real life works, right?
Right.
Like it's
Like these people, they're smart enough to see who they are, right? But they can't manage to change it,
to
you know?
fully change,
Yeah.
or to change too much and overcompensate.
Right, and they'll even like there's these moments in the show where they know they're giving into their like the mistakes basically,
Yeah.
and they're doing it anyway.
Yep.
Right.
And in real life, people do that all the time.
Constantly.
I'm sure I have too.
Every day. Well, I don't know, maybe not every day. Anyway, so yeah, that's my pick for number
Either way,
3
yeah,
this year.
it's not on my list. It should be an honorable mention. It's just when
An
I look,
anonymous mention.
yeah. when I look back, it's not the type of show that I think I was blown away by, but it's a known quantity, and I
Right.
enjoyed the show.
I feel like I didn't get to watch enough TV this year. So considering I was on a boat for 3 straight months, right? I was kind of detached from film and television, so I didn't get to see as much as I really wanted to. I played a lot of
Zelda.
I played a lot of Zelda, Stardew Valley. I played 3DS, Switch. Man, that Switch saved my life, man. Switch saved my life.
The trip would have ended earlier.
I might have just jumped off the boat. Might have just jumped right off. Okay, Dan, what's your number 3 pick?
I believe I put South Park at number 3.
You did put
Yeah.
South Park. South Park season, who got
37
God knows.
was like-
There's no way to know.
I think it's 22. 22. So, yeah. The show, much like BoJack Horseman, it is a known quantity, but South Park finds a way to still be fresh and incisive and audacious every single season, to the point like I am blown away.
It
by
is season
these episodes.
22.
Still make the episodes like
24 hours to air, or whatever, 48 hours.
Yeah. They're improvising it as they go. Like it's insane that they are able to, and the show is still genius. You know, it's not getting old. It's not repeating the same jokes. It's finding a way to act as a sort of social commentary without taking itself too seriously, to the point like BoJack might. One of its faults may be that it takes itself a little bit too seriously at points.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe.
And it's not. And people watch it for different reasons, and that's fine. But South Park, again, it continues to blow me away with each episode and make me think about things differently, which is impressive.
And it's like I said, season 22
Exactly.
is the number. It's been on for so long.
What other show was still
Simpsons.
this fresh at? No,
Well, Simpsons is not fresh, which is still on.
Yeah,
That's the difference.
and successful and power to them. But
Yeah.
South Park is unique in that, I think.
Yeah, that it's still able to be smart at this point. Yeah.
Smart, and it challenges you, and it challenges your view of society in general, and the social norms that we have.
And it's good that you notice that. I don't think a lot of people do recognize that about the show.
I mean, some people look at it as just like fart humor.
And
whatever,
it definitely
but there's
has that.
Mr. Hanky the Christmas poo.
That's kind of how I viewed it for a while. Then I started watching it like
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
3
yeah.
years ago.
And that's a good
Longer
time
than
to
that.
have started, because that's when they kind of did this shift to be more of a
They did this
contemporary
like
social commentary.
serialized, like semi-serialized.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Before that, it was just a random episode,
Yeah.
and then now they have season-long arcs, and it is more about what's happening right here and now.
I think Matt Stone and Trey Parker have evolved a lot since their since the early seasons, right? That you can tell from their work that they're very different. Yeah. They're like, well, if this is their medium, right? How can we tell new stories, in new ways?
And
Yeah.
it's not preachy. It doesn't necessarily have a political agenda, but it challenges other political agendas, on both sides of the spectrum, right? So that's what I like about it, is that it's everyone's fair game, and it really,
It's just always making fun of like the shit that's going on.
Yeah.
Now.
which is good. You need to be
Right.
able to
Put a mirror up to
Yeah,
society
for
and
sure.
say, hey, look how stupid you look.
Yeah.
And
And
it makes you realize through watching the show through that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're watching the show through the children, right? The little kids that are seeing how stupid the adults are and how stupid the government is.
Right. That Margaritaville episode is still one of my favorite episodes of all
Margaritaville.
time. It's so good.
What season's that from?
It's from like 5 years ago. It was before they went serialized, but it's like one of their. I think
It's a great.
it's one of their greatest episodes. Okay, Jeremy, what's your number 3? Oh wait, Jeremy only watched one. Jeremy only cared about one show this year.
Well, I only watched one show this year.
That's crazy. Can we talk about that for a second? Why?
Sure.
Why did you like what?
I just don't.
Nothing was bringing. Nothing was drawing you to the TV. You got a brand new television,
I used to
4K.
I used to watch pretty much everything, but then I realized I was wasting my time with certain things. I could do better things with my life, so I kind of just pick and choose the things that I'm into. And this year, I only had one show that kind of drew me
Spoke
in,
to you, hey? Okay.
and I watched all of it. And yeah, that'll
Okay.
be my number one pick.
Okay.
Pick.
We'll get there. We'll get there. It is one of my honorable mentions. Your number one. All right. So my number 2 is Star Trek Discovery Season 1. I love having Star. I love having Star.
I wish people could see my face.
I
right
love having Star Trek back on television. It is. It is so.
now. And like a little bit of
I didn't realize how much I missed having Star Trek on TV until
enough.
Star Trek came back.
Yeah.
And it might not be exactly like the Star Trek from television that I enjoyed, because I basically like every version of television Star Trek. I even like Enterprise, and that one is widely regarded to be not as great as the others. But it's so sorry.
Cult hit, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe. I mean, I think some people like later seasons. They did stuff. Were the first Trek show to do serialized storytelling in a meaningful way, and that was impressive. But this show brings us back to an age that we're familiar with, right around the same time as the original series. Obviously, it looks very different and feels very different. But they're again exploring these same ideas about Star Trek, about being better, about and then also they do fun stuff like go to alternate dimensions, and you deal with like the mirror universe in the first season, and like that. I'm all about that kind of crazy stuff. And I again, until Star Wars is on TV, which is going to be soon, this is my like go-to sci-fi show. Right, I love it. It's not perfect, but I'm really excited for the second season where they bring in Captain Pike and Spock, and really kind of tying things together in a more meaningful way. I think that's going to be exciting, and actually very soon too. In the next like week or so, we'll start seeing stuff for Star Trek Discovery Season 2. So that's my number 2 pick. Dan, what's your number 2 pick?
I believe I put Maniac.
Yeah,
The Netflix. It was a limited series on Netflix.
Wait, it's a limited series on Netflix.
It's TV. It counts as TV.
Okay.
I say. No, it was like weird, quirky. Like weird is probably the best way to describe it. But also delightful. It's a combination of when I described it on the show last, I said it's a combination of like Inception meets Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with like a little bit of Wes Anderson in it. Like it's got that weird whimsy to it. You know, it's hard to describe. I won't like spoil the show, but there's shared realities and cascading realities, and you know it's very cerebral in that sense. But it's not. When I say Wes Anderson, it has this weird sort of like it feels like one of his movies where there's like a quirky, like everyone lives in this world and they accept it for what it is.
Right.
But it's like it's so.
But it's not. It's strange.
People just say things in a certain way, and everyone just accepts it for what it is.
Okay.
And it's not our reality. It's just a weird.
Okay.
But yeah, but also delightful show. Jonah Hill and Emma Stone.
I love Emma Stone.
Both like showing a lot of range in the show because they have to act as different versions of themselves in different realities.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wait, is it the slim or chubbier Jonah Hill?
I don't know, slimmer, I guess.
Slimmer?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Follow with all this crazy shit happening?
Yeah, it is.
much better question than mine.
I mean, it's like any show with sci-fi, themes. You kind of have to pay attention to know the rules, but it's easy enough to follow. There are some sort of mind-bending periods where you're, jumping out a window and landing in a town where you're a giant and everyone else is tiny, and like it's all over the place.
I really want to see the show now.
Sounds like it's hard to follow, but
it's hard to describe. Sounds like
it's definitely hard to describe. I challenge you to watch it and find a way to describe it without actually explaining the plot and ruining the show.
Right. Okay. Anyway, I'm excited. Actually, I feel like I wrote it down and lost where I wrote it down because I really do.
Yeah, I told you about it another time.
I do want to watch it. Yeah. Okay. Jeremy, you're number 2. All right. Yeah. Sorry. All right. My number 1 television show this year is The Good Place Season 3, and The Good Place to me still is, without was there a Brooklyn Nine-Nine this year? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Maybe.
If there was, it may have been half of it, like part of a season from the year before. We know it got canceled, came back. It's coming back. It's coming back on NBC. It's coming back soon, but it's not there yet. I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Same creator. as The Good Place. But The Good Place to me scratches this itch for just pure joy, and in similar way to BoJack, it is able to explore complex ideas and themes in a very abstract and fun way. Like whenever they go to some other part of the afterlife, like they went to the accounting department, and then it's like they're able to make like office style jokes and stuff, but at the expense of this one guy whose only job is to rate how many points new sex stuff is. So he's just constantly being berated by like a printer that's just constantly printing new stuff that's never been invented. And he's just the new sex stuff guy, and he just gets asking if he can kill himself. It's very funny. It's very funny. But that's just one piece of it, and they're able to do that plus, like, obviously earlier in the show they do the trolley problem, and they do this really fun episode where they explore that. But every episode's like that, where they're exploring some new philosophical theme about like just existence, and what's our purpose here, and why are we even here? Like these are existential questions that can like warp the brain, but they tackle them in such a fun way, and it just makes you feel happy to watch. So I have to give it up to the show again this year. It's amazing. So that's my number one pick.
It's a cute show.
Well, and it, obviously, and this is a year we're lacking Game of Thrones. There's no Game of Thrones this year. So, was there Westworld this year even? I don't think so. I think it was last year's Westworld.
Either way, it
doesn't stack up, right? So, you have it's just missing a lot of those really great. I didn't see the Deuce season 2, and I really wanted to. I think it probably would have made my list.
The thing is, there is a lot of good TV out there. Obviously, like we said at the beginning of the show, we don't watch everything. And Atlanta is still supposed to be really good. I only watched the first season. There's plenty of stuff on the list.
Americans ended this year. That's apparently one of the best shows.
Was there a Handmaid's Tale this year?
Yeah, it's on my honorable mentions. Yeah, didn't crack the list. Dan, you're number one.
Is it my number one? I think this is the one with an asterisk.
Yeah, you're a
right?
cheater.
It's not a cheater.
You're
not
cheating.
What is the asterisk for?
So my
it
number
came
one
out this year.
is Black Mirror.
An individual episode?
No, it's the series, but it technically dropped end of December 2017. However, we had already recorded this show, so it could not have been included in
Oh wow, this is okay. So it's like way older. I thought it was like this year, like it started. It was from like early January.
Then why would it need an asterisk? Then it would
award shows though,
because it would be that would be 2019.
No, other way around. Yeah, it's
from
just slightly past
right.
2018, but we couldn't have included it in our past show, so I think it still qualifies.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. And Black Mirror is an amazing show. This last season actually up the ante.
Did you watch Bandersnatch?
That's also on my list, motherfucker.
Yeah, but again, no, honorable mentions. Okay.
No, it's not. You're spoiling that. You're a spoiler. That's a spoiler. You just spoiled.
Wait. Is that not an episode of Black Mirror?
I put it under movies.
So you're cheating again.
It's a feature. It's a feature length. It's separate. It's not an episode of Black Mirror.
All right, interesting. Okay, all right, okay. Well, we don't tell us where. Don't tell us where it is on your list.
We'll get to it, and I'll explain that then.
All right, fine.
But Black Mirror is just again a challenging show. It explores a lot of the same, a lot of moral concepts,
but in a much darker way.
For sure. For sure.
Top 10 list of Black Mirror episodes.
Yeah. I could. The one from this season, there's a Star Trek episode this season.
Yeah, I heard it's really cool. I heard it's really cool.
And that's also approximately feature length. Yeah?
Watched that one.
It's a really good episode.
It's about lives in a virtual reality, essentially.
Yeah, so he has a program where he needs to like DNA from somebody in real life, and then he can program them, but then they're alive in a video game version where he's Captain Kirk, essentially.
Yeah, it's very Twilight Zone.
Yeah, well, all their episodes are. Yeah. Twilight Zone is a huge influence on this show, or Outer Limits as well.
We control the vertical and the horizontal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But and I just love that is an anthology series. Oh, however, the last episode, each episode is different and it explores one theme. However, the last episode of this season kind of ties a lot of them all together, which I thought was very interesting.
Ooh, that's cool. Ooh,
like it's.
Look how scared he is.
He broke his brain.
The last episode of this season, I'm not going to spoil it. Obviously, these episodes are very spoilable.
Yeah.
but there's a museum that has these articles and relics from other episodes. So you'll just see like a little item from a past episode, and it's like a nod to that. But there's a museum that's displaying them all. It's very cool. And then there's other crazy stuff happens.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's an amazing show.
There's a cool museum in the last season of The Good Place, which is very funny.
Yeah, but we were talking about my number one.
right.
No, I'm basically done with it. It's not the kind of show that you can go into too much depth talking about without ruining individual episodes.
Mm-hmm. I think people know at this point that Black Mirror is pretty good, but you have a specific episode that you think is the best one
of this season.
Yeah,
it probably would be the Star Trek one. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It's called USS McAllister, I think.
Is that the person's name?
That's the name of the ship.
No, is that is the person like the Captain Kirk guy?
No.
Like in real life?
And then when he's in real life, he's a video game developer or something.
Yeah, so he works at a company that develops this type of software, but he's like one of the programmers. So in real life, he's like, he's the nerd.
Nobody likes him.
Yeah.
Like uses all the people, like his coworkers,
as like
crew members.
right.
He's the captain.
And then so if the boss is like on his case at work, he can like go and knock the boss out, and he's the boss there, right?
So he's like mean, like he'll make them.
Yeah. I get the premise. It's cool.
It's really cool. The only thing is the characters in the video game are conscious,
right.
So and they're aware that there was another world.
So they kind of like battle.
So they feel like they were kidnapped and put in
I don't forget what happens at the end, but
well, you can't say what happens at the end.
Don't. Yeah, that's
you
you
can't. The
can't.
thing about these characters though is that they're alive even when he's not playing the game. They're just stuck there.
It's just fascinating
That's
that
weird.
They know, so obviously they're gonna take steps in terms of like trying to
Like sabotage. Yeah.
get back.
Okay. All right. So Jeremy, your number one pick. You actually have one.
My only
Yeah, your number one pick.
is Titans on the DC Universe streaming service.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of DC Universe, Young Justice premiered like 2 days ago.
No, not yet.
Yeah,
It's
it did.
next Sunday.
January something.
No, here it does
Oh,
on
okay.
Teletoon in Canada,
Oh.
but it's already available on the streaming service right now.
Oh,
the
cool.
first 3 episodes.
Okay, yeah. It's
Yeah.
not all the episodes.
First 3 episodes.
Okay, we'll talk about Titans first, and then we can.
But
talk about
yeah,
that
I'm just saying, I'm just very annoyed with Warner Brothers for the fact that we don't have the app here and there's no way to watch the show.
But to be fair, I'm naming Titans. We downloaded it all. We couldn't watch it ourselves, obviously. But
Yeah.
it's on Netflix
Yeah, it's
week or
in a
something
week
like
or so,
that.
and I pay for Netflix, so I don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not mention that. But yeah. So Titans, Jeremy, why?
So why? Well,
Yeah.
it's the only thing I watched really, but I wanted to watch it because it's
The dictionary describes Titans as.
It's basically kind of what I've always wanted from a DC show, where it is pretty much a one-for-one translation of just the characters and dynamics and just the existence of the characters and who inhabit the DC world. It's something we've kind of been teased with Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, even more so with like a lot of characters popping up. But this one feels like a straight-up reincarnation or whatever you want to
Of like the
call it.
current age of comics.
Just like and just like that specific timeline and canon of like DC and the characters and how they would interact and when they would exist and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it does such a cool job at modernizing it, especially these timeless characters in a new and exciting way. And I just kind of fell in love with it and just couldn't wait for the next episode every time it came out. And more so if you're kind of on the camp where maybe yourself where it is an honorable mention and didn't fulfill that to its fullest. For me, it's just the possibilities that are there are just so like explosive in my mind.
You're
that
right.
it's so exciting.
You're absolutely right, but you have to rate it on what's there on the screen now,
Yeah,
right?
For me, it's just every episode my brain would turn in terms of like, oh, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do this, this is gonna happen.
We also don't know if they're going to do those things, but we hope.
Yeah,
right?
Well, some of them kind of came to light in terms of Batman.
Right. I mean, and honestly, if you listen to this show, you know our thoughts on the show, right? But Titans is a imperfect show that does amazing things with the characters that we love from the comic
So
books.
is it more gratifying because you're already a fan of DC?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, yeah.
It's
so-
not even. There's no question.
It's for DC,
Yeah. Well, fair enough. It's on their streaming service. You already
Yeah.
know what you're
You
getting
gotta-
into.
You gotta sign up, pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, you get all the other perks, obviously, right?
Comics and all the movies and
The animated movies that come out earlier. So Reign of the Superman, I
Mm.
think is on there early. Things like that.
What do you mean?
So, yeah.
What are you comics?
There's digital comic books on there.
Yeah.
Digital comic books. You go to the app
But like
and you can
like
read digital
the main
comic
runs,
books.
like of what like.
I don't know if
contemporary?
it's
They
all the
add things
contemporary
all the
stuff. Yeah,
time.
Okay,
take
interesting.
things off and take them on.
I'll probably
And we
subscribe.
talked about streaming services.
It is
in
coming
general,
eventually, I think.
In terms of what these companies are doing with their own streaming service, right? Everything's gonna be
We
free.
talked
Yeah.
about a DC streaming service literally like 5 years ago. We were talking about how cool it would be if they just compiled all the stuff they were doing and put stuff
And they're
together.
kind of first to the gate before Marvel to a certain degree. Obviously, theirs is
Well,
coming out.
Disney's coming. It's
Disney,
more than just Marvel,
That's
right?
Yeah.
It's a crazy place. It's a time that we live in with these streaming services where, you know, you can pick and choose what you. I was considering. So Crave up here in Canada, it's owned by Bell, offers HBO and Showtime now as their. You can't get HBO now here in Canada, just HBO. You have to subscribe to Crave plus HBO and movies for $20 a month to get HBO. $20 a month. You can stream live HBO channels and movies
Alright.
and all the other stuff. It's close to being a good deal. I was talking about this on Twitter the other day.
If you guys live together,
Split it. It's $10 a month. Right. Just saying. But this ability to like pick and choose where you spend your time and exist in these silos instead of being exposed to like a network which has all these different types of shows on, right, at any time is a bit different, right? You might not run into a new show in the same way that you used to. Although Netflix does a good job of suggesting things to you.
Well, what it does,
especially their own content.
Yeah. Especially their own content.
what it does, is you're able to curate your life. You don't spend as much time flipping through channels,
Mhm,
right? It's
that's
all
true.
about saving a little bit of time here and there, so you can.
Really, because how much time have you spent flipping through the options on Netflix?
Well, yeah, a lot. But and that's the point, though, right?
Right.
I wouldn't do as much because you would be like, I'm going to watch a DC show.
You're like, oh, I just want to watch this. Oh, it's not there. I just want to watch. It's also
I
not
have
there.
had times, and it's stupid, like where I've spent more time on Netflix adding things to my list and then just not watching it. Like, yeah, but
I have
I'll
a
watch
pretty
it
long
later.
list now of
Yeah,
stuff that I have.
I'm not in the mood for this right now, so I'll add it to the list.
I don't know when I'll have time to watch Fury, but it's on my list. It's on my list. Titans, though, I put it on my honorable mentions purely because I have to rate it on what is there now. I think it has a bad season finale. There's a really rough middle episode with.
To be fair, the reason for that is that they cut it early because they want to use the actual season finale for their opener.
Oh, really?
too, yeah.
That's a strange move. I'm gonna be honest. That's a weird move.
Well, we talked about how it's a strange finale episode. And
Right.
we
That explains why. Yeah. So, yeah, that's really that's a because then what happens? Episode 1 starts with the Big Bang, and then it's just like it's all downhill from
It'll
there.
obviously be back to reality, right? With
Right.
new
Yeah.
shit going on.
Yeah. But yeah, it has a soft middle, I think, and a strong beginning. It's just a really average show that can be much better than that. And I love the characters.
Disagree, but-
Well, yeah, I don't know. We've talked about this to death. I don't want to get too deep into that now, but I think we can move on to Dan. What do you have any other honorable mentions of Altered Carbon here?
Altered Carbon, it's a really good show, but it's like you were saying about Maniac, hard to follow. You really got to focus up and pay attention to this show. It's a crazy sci-fi concept where you can, again, upload your consciousness into new bodies. You have a little disc that
It's like Ghost in the Shell, kind of.
It's a mixture of a bunch of different sci-fi plus a lot of its own stuff, but it's a really good show.
It's got that Blade Runner aesthetic.
Yeah,
Which you can't ever go wrong with.
it looks crisp, and there's a lot of action. There's interesting. So there's the discs that hold your consciousness, but then there's also AIs that are a completely different subsect, and it's like it's a different class. But there's a lot of really cool stuff.
So replicants.
Not really, no, because AI is like a computer that only exists in this hotel. Like he can't
Right.
leave
Oh,
the physical
okay.
space, but he has a virtual reality there for himself.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a cool show.
All right. You also have Daredevil season 3 as your honorable mention.
Yeah. Another great show. It was sort of back to basics. It's not, the team up, focus.
Bullseye, right? Bullseye's the big baddie. in this
Bullseye
one.
is great. So that's what each season of Daredevil has done well, is introduce a villain and focus on that well. Like, so Kingpin in season 1, both Punisher and Elektra. Punisher's not technically a villain, but
I would suggest that season 2's villain is a little bit more muddied. That it's all over the place.
And that's what I'm saying. Season 3 went back to basics and got away from that because season 2 was focusing too much on the team up and like teasing Defenders and trying to incorporate
Iron Man
and
2 problem.
create a world, right? So this is like after the Defenders, it's back to just Daredevil, Foggy,
and his struggle with his Christianity.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
A good portion of it
Yeah.
takes place in a church.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did a great job introducing Bullseye and creating that character.
Cool.
Great season.
Everyone said it was really good. I don't know why. Netflix Marvel stuff just doesn't grip me like it used to. I think Defenders actually ruined me.
It kind of did, and now Daredevil's been canceled too.
Right.
It's potentially going to come back when Disney has their own streaming service, but who knows?
I saw a funny meme the other day because there's a trailer and the date now for for Punisher season 2. It's coming soon, and there's news: Punisher cancels Netflix. But it's coming. They're all going to move over to Disney Plus in 2 years. That's the deal.
Yeah. What else? You mentioned Young Justice quickly there. That's for sure going to be my number one show of next year.
Your number one show.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it yet, but you know for sure. Game of Thrones season finale.
Okay. Maybe not. You're right. But I freaking love Young Justice. I actually just recently started rewatching to get ready because the new season drops next Sunday for us.
Yeah, on Teletoon, which I don't have Teletoon, but I'm sure I'll be able to find a version of it.
Is it not coming to Netflix too? I thought that was part of
it.
But
at some point, not till later. Not till later. The whole series has to end, and then they can load it up.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know. So my honorable mentions, I have Handmaid's Tale season 2. I think Handmaid's Tale was my number one television show last year, and honestly, the second season just didn't really do it for me I was gripped by the first season. It made me feel emotions I didn't even know I had. And I was terrified by the whole prospect of what this world that they built. And then season 2, you're still in this world, but the best thing that they do is the world building, and then everything else feels okay. So back up a bit. The book ends at season 1, the book that it's based off of.
Right.
So season 2 is just extrapolating from that, right? And that's all in the showrunners. Although Margaret Atwood is it Margaret Atwood?
Yep.
Yeah. She's actually writing a second Handmaid's Tale now. The show has inspired her to make write another book set in that universe. So that's kind of cool. But are you looking up if it's Margaret Atwood?
Yeah, I just agreed because it sounded familiar.
Yeah,
I think it is.
I also think it is. The second season, I think, struggled with its a problem that you mentioned with BoJack, where their characters aren't. Okay, good. That would be a big mistake that I didn't really want to make. It struggles with their characters not changing very much, and the whole premise of the show is driving to one point that if she gets there, it has to end. The show has to end. Or it does. I don't think it has to, but I think in a lot of people's minds, or at least in the showrunners' minds, I think that the show needs to end if she reaches her goal.
Or at least her story ends.
Right.
Right.
So it's we're constantly driving towards wanting this particular ending for her to escape. I mean, this is not spoilers. She's trying to escape, right? It's not but she can't get there ever because the show needs to exist, which is, I think, a problem that the show needs to come to terms with next season for it to continue in a strong way. Because if it can't figure out what to do with the main character, other than just keep resetting her, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So that's my problem with that show, but I did really like it still, obviously. And then I also put Titans. We talked about that as well. So in terms of disappointments or shows that I didn't get, I just didn't understand what they were going for. It's a little bit more positive, I think. Is Star Wars
room for improvement?
Right, Star Wars Resistance. So I've watched every animated Star Wars show up until now, and Star Wars Resistance is just not for me. It's not for me, and I just have to accept that. It's from a visual style, I think it's interesting, but not. But for me, not engaging. I like the idea of what they're doing, this CG animated anime thing, but I actually don't like the look personally. But I like the idea of it. I think the characters are extremely thin, just caricatures basically, and it's just and you're locking the show to this little island to this island in the middle of this world that you've never heard of before, or I guess it's not really an island. It's like an oil rig essentially, and it's just there's no bigger plot. It's just all this stuff that's happening on this little oil rig in the middle of nowhere, and maybe that's changed a little bit, but it just doesn't. It even had Poe in the first episode, and Poe Dameron, and like other big characters are supposed to appear, but it's like it doesn't matter. The show is just it does not. It's just not as good as Rebels became, or as Clone Wars is going to end. We're getting more Clone Wars this year. Like,
yeah, that's right.
how exciting is that, right? So disappointed by that show. Just it's a shame when a brand leaves you behind. Now, Star Wars hasn't left me behind entirely, but they have on the animated side, at least.
I remember you saying even with like Rebels, the first little bit of the first season was kind of rough.
Yeah, this is a whole other level of that, and I could see where they were going with that show, right?
Mhm.
And they had a strong like core characters outside of Ezra, who was annoying early on, who had interesting backstory and past that tied in with things that we knew and understood, like the Jedi and like the clones and stuff like that. That's interesting, right? But with this, it's like we don't know who this person is. There is no Jedi, right?
Yeah.
There's even less Jedi in this time frame than there is in the between episode 3 and 4.
Right.
So it just doesn't do it for me. Yeah. Anything that you watched that just didn't do it for you this year, Dan?
No. If I don't like something, I just turn it off.
That's fair.
So.
I didn't watch the whole first season, obviously, of Resistance. I watched the first couple episodes. And I was like, not for me. Okay, that allows us to move on to movies. Oh yeah, Jeremy's disappointments is every other show that ever came out to this year. Yeah. So on the movie front, I kind of want to get your perspective on how you built your list, right? So okay, I thought you were leaning over like you're interested in my question. No, you're just trying to read. You're trying to read what's going on here. So how did you build your list? So the way I do it is I just write down all the movies, like from my list of, I keep a list of the movies I watched over the year, and then I go through that and I put down the ones that I liked most. I just write them down, no order, and then I just kind of look at that list and I kind of sort things around, move things around until I find like a sweet spot. How do you have like a perspective? Because I know you struggle sometimes, Dan, with this idea that how do you compare a drama to a comedy?
I don't struggle with
yeah,
it.
because you're like, I was like, I remember we were going to do our top 10 movies of all time,
Nah.
and you're like, I can't. So how can you do that? That's what you sound like.
I wouldn't phrase it as a struggle,
Right.
but yeah, no, I don't like, because it's like, by what criteria? How could you compare
Your favorites.
this comedy to this? Like, but they're good in different ways,
Right?
And there is no.
You're struggling internally. You have to struggle with that
Just
inside
relax.
you.
How did I build? I don't even remember what's on my list.
Your list? I'll show it to you here. So I don't want to spoil it yet.
Yeah, okay. No, mine was essentially the same as yours. I don't keep a list in my phone of movies that I like throughout the year, but
not all that I liked. Just every movie I saw over the year, whether I liked them or not.
keep that.
I keep
insane.
a list.
That's fucking insane.
No, it's not really. I kind of like to go back over my list and say, oh, these are the movies I saw this year. How many did I see? That kind of thing.
I tried to do it just off the top of my head, just remember movies first, and then I like looked up like on Google 2018 movies, and like, oh, okay, I saw that one. What do I think of that? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
it's a similar process as yours.
Okay, Jeremy, do you have a process, or is it just like it's just the gut? It just comes from the gut.
Think of them.
Okay, interesting. You think of them, and then you just think of them. All right, so Jeremy, why don't you go first with your number 3 this time?
Sure. Aquaman, is that my number 3?
Aquaman just came out. No recency bias here, though, right? This is,
I mean, there might be.
Yeah.
But, I've thought about the movie quite often actually after viewing it.
I-
I've seen it, when did it come out again?
like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still think about it every now and then for sure.
I've heard a lot, like anecdotally, from just random people, other like normies as we call them, right? Loved this movie, just loved, except for Eli, except for our friend Eli, who hated it.
I've heard a lot of very mixed. Eli hated it. My barback at work fucking loved it. I'm hearing different things from different people. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't speak to it.
I have a friend. She's very complicated. I don't understand her taste in movies. She hated the Planet of the Apes movies, the new ones. Just like those movies are so good, right?
Yeah.
And she hated them. She thought they should be more brutal and more violent with more blood. So, and I was like, I didn't understand that criticism. I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's a weird way.
It's a weird, and that's what I said. I was like, that's very strange. And then she went to see Aquaman. She's like, "This is the best movie I've ever seen." I saw. She's all over the place.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm just getting the impression that it's a crowd pleaser, is what I'm getting at.
Aquaman.
Yeah.
I can see both sides. I can see how you might not like it. I just fell in the camp where I had a great time watching it. I think it nailed a lot of the characters, and I was surprised at how close it was to the source material.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Black Manta and all that stuff, and Orm especially.
Well, they hold the source material in high regard, right? They don't try to like change things so it's easier to more palatable or anything.
As a part of the writing process, and just having James Wan, he was kind of one of those directors where in the beginning of the DCU or the kind of the middle of it, where he was one of the only directors that kind of stayed on.
Yeah, there was a lot of turmoil, director turmoil.
So it's nice to see that kind of played out, and he got to do like all these grandiose things.
It's amazing what happens when you have a director to stay on for the whole movie. Yeah.
So I think that's a positive outcome with this movie. But yeah, I had a really good time with this movie. I just was pleasantly surprised. Maybe the lack of expectations going in might have done something.
Well, we were definitely concerned about this movie going in.
But I just think things how things played out in terms of action, and just the story for beat or whatever. It all worked for me, and I was just pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
Definitely agree. Not on my top 3, but definitely agree. Dan, you're number 3.
I put Hold the Dark. It was a Netflix movie. It came out earlier this year.
You watched it on Netflix this year, eh?
I did. Yeah. That's how it works. Yeah. It's easier.
Convenient.
Yeah.
I found
literally just place something in front of him and he'll just digest it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's fine.
Okay, get up and go to a movie theater.
Hold the Dark.
Hold the Dark. It's a thriller on Netflix. It's one of those ones where the trailer sort of popped up in like the how
first thing you turn it on.
Netflix is promoting it, and it's a really cool trailer. So it's a thriller. It's a really like creepy sort of thriller. Keeps you edge of your seat, to a different degree. It's not like edge of your seat like you're excited the whole time. It's like it keeps you guessing. It's not at all what you think if you read the blurb or if you watch the trailer.
Summoned to a remote Alaskan village to search for the wolves that killed 3 children, a wolf expert soon finds himself.
Jeffrey Wright.
Oh, that's cool. I like Jeffrey Wright.
He's great.
A wolf expert soon finds himself unraveling a harrowing mystery. So it's directed by Jeremy Kozier. Great director. And I do like Jeffrey Wright a lot as well.
Jeffrey Wright is pretty cool. Yeah, so that's essentially it, right? He has to go. So you're thinking in your head, it's like, oh, it's kind of like The Grey, but he's hunting the wolves, whatever. And then it just there's layers to it, and it gets deeper and deeper, and he gets drawn into something completely different that I won't spoil, obviously.
Okay.
But there's also like this creepy sort of mystical element to it, where it's like it's not necessarily, it is based in reality, but there's this weird other element that there's mysticism, and there's the like the Native Americans and these wolf masks and stuff like that, and the way that people approach that is very different than what you think you are getting going into the movie, where it's just a dude hunting wolves, right?
Is this Jeffrey Wright's first starring?
No, he's been in a few movies.
Well, he's the lead. He's the lead in this, right? And I can't think of a Jeffrey Wright's film where he's the lead. Especially he's pretty solitary. Probably he's not with a lot of people in this movie. I'm guessing early on, maybe
not. Maybe you should watch the movie.
Jeffrey Wright's an interesting actor. He always seems fairly similar in his roles, because just the way he speaks is just very calm and slow. And Westworld, it's brutal because he's always doing the same little ticks, but it's a part of the show, right?
Yeah.
Looking down his glass, he never looks through his glasses.
The glasses are always on the tip of his nose.
I love him in Casino Royale as Felix Leiter.
Yeah.
As the CIA agent. It's a very small part. Really wish they brought him back as a recurring character later on. Maybe we'll see him pop up in Bond 25. Who knows?
I watched him in a movie recently, I think, with Margot Robbie about the end of the world.
Interesting.
It might have been a dream you had.
That does sound like most of them.
Margot Robbie stars in a lot of your dreams.
It was Margot Robbie, Jeffrey Wright. I feel like Chris Pine was in the movie. There was an alligator.
Is Chris Pine from the movie, but only from that one scene in Wonder Woman? Okay. My number 3, Avengers: Infinity War, is my number 3, and not
Okay.
so much because of how much I love the movie itself as a film, but because of what it was doing, right? And
That's pretty much the same reason for me, but it's my number 1. But
right,
And I think
it's
I put it at number 2. It's on all of our lists.
yeah. So this movie, when you end, like when you sit in the theater the first time, and we were there, like I don't know, it was like a Thursday night. I was there opening night. I was in Florida when I saw it, but just silence. People are looking at the screen like what
Yeah.
just happened, right? That like that snap heard around the world is just unreal. Like what the balls they had on them, right? To do this, right? And we knew going in, the movie was originally called Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, so we kind of had an idea that it was going to be not a complete story, right? But we kind of, I guess, mostly forgot about that until the end, and like, oh man, they did it, they did it, right? Like the actual.
we didn't think. I think the consensus was that the snap wasn't going to happen.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, nobody predicted. We were saying like Cap's probably gonna die, and that's gonna be like how the dark point that this movie ends with. But
Yeah.
they went.
Cap
all the
doesn't
way.
die.
Yeah.
I was doubled down on that.
Yeah.
By the way, I am now tripling down on that. Cap is going to die in the next movie. That is almost definitely happening. But just unreal what they accomplished. Like from a spectacle standpoint, it's pretty huge. Like the fight scenes are cool. Being able to make Thanos like this giant purple man, a character that you kind of like understand, right? He's not the Chitauri or whatever from Avengers.
They gave
there's that personality there.
Yeah, there's depth to the character. They're able to make him immediately imposing and threatening, dangerous right away. He can fight the Hulk.
But he's got a heart
The
too.
first scene was crazy. That's the ballsy move too.
Yeah.
Starting on that scene.
Yeah.
As well.
Also, with this movie though, it's the culmination of all these other films, right? So it's on a different level than anything else that's ever been done in
Which
film.
couldn't be done without the things before.
Of course, yeah.
Over a decade,
Yeah.
leading up to this moment. From the first time
And
about a
it's
decade.
always impressive how they're able to balance all the characters. Everyone gets their screen time. In this movie, the pacing is actually it's pretty good. There's that part with Thor building the new hammer is a low
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Um,
Peter Dinklage really needs to pick better roles, Peter. Like,
no, I'm sure that was a good paycheck. I'm sure he's
yeah,
not
I get it.
regretting
It's like woof on that one.
that. Whatever. It's just a throwaway role.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to be stuck.
Motherfucker, he picked the best role imaginable. He's Tyrion.
In there.
Like,
Well, still, I mean, he was also what's his name in X-Men, Trask,
yeah.
right? That wasn't very good. He was in.
The movie was good.
That was okay.
He wasn't bad as Trask.
Yeah. What else? He was in your favorite video game, Dan, Destiny, and they had to cut him out. They cut him out of the game because he was so bad.
That again, no, that wasn't his fault. That is a paycheck.
That's not his fault.
That's the writer's fault. That game is absolutely the writer's
Well,
fault.
it's not. Your job as an actor is to elevate the writing, not
And
to.
I'm sure he did his best.
Right. It doesn't sound like he did. Just saying. I like Peter Dinklage. I'm concerned for him.
I think he'll be okay.
Anything else we want to say about Infinity War? It's like everything that's been said. It's like it's already been said.
Yeah.
And when it ends too with that ending, I mean, you just can't wait for what's to come.
It's so soon.
And now, it's
Coming up, yeah.
they shut it
When's
back
Captain
to
Marvel? Captain Marvel's soon, right?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Captain Marvel, I went to see Bumblebee the other day, and there was a Captain Marvel trailer followed by Shazam, like right after each other. I was looking around, like, is anyone seeing this right now? Like Captain Marvel and a Captain Marvel trailer followed by, like that is what world are we living in where that like I'm going to see a Bumblebee movie
Aquaman,
right after Aquaman.
It is
Infinity War, Black Panther.
maybe getting to the point that it's almost oversaturated with comic book movies, but
Maybe.
there's
It-
great.
It looks that way, but it's like
Well, because like not all of them are great. There's some great ones, and then some that are.
We
kinda
talked about this. I
lackluster.
mean, like it's not like westerns because westerns all feel the same, right?
Yeah.
It's they're all different genres within the comic book movies.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot
it
of
can become similar with the origin stories, right? Like Captain
Yeah,
Marvel.
a
There's the one I think for us it feels just
So-
like a recipe.
yeah, they're very formulaic, right? Even Black Panther, it's a great movie, but it's just a cut and dry superhero
And
movie.
Aquaman actually has a lot of similarities to Black Panther.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so Captain Marvel and Shazam are going to be that same sort of formulaic origin story.
Yeah.
Captain
Well,
Shazam may not.
different story.
Shazam, I think, is gonna be a bit
Shazam
different.
may be a little bit more
Yeah.
tongue in cheek, but
Oh yeah.
It ties into like there's some trends, there's some predictions for next year, and we talked about this on the for this. Yeah, for 2019 is that I think we're gonna see that Marvel formula really starting to like creep into other parts of studio films, big studio films, and it's gonna start feeling pretty samey. Like we talked about with the Men in Black.
It's already happened with,
Right.
with Star Wars.
Well, with the Marvel formula in Star Wars.
With the Marvel feel, yeah, it's Star Wars is not. It has developed more closely to that formula than it was.
You're right, but I think with Marvel, we're at the end of that formula.
Well, yeah, the end of Infinity War is going to change
We have
everything,
no idea
right?
what it's going to look like after that, and Kevin Feige's not going to want to.
You don't think you're gonna get the similar type of like some jokes thrown in with some action to be you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, but that's like just inherent.
but there's a distinct tone that Marvel has landed on for their
The
films.
tone's not the issue, though.
Yeah,
The tone's
it's
fine.
not that. It's Disney and Kevin Feige are going to push the envelope with more characters they bring. They're not going to do the same thing over and over again.
I hope not.
I think like they've nailed it so far, and all the other studios, like you just said, are going to kind of incorporate that. You're going to see that.
Yeah.
But I think Marvel themselves are going to try to like maybe kind of slowly go away from
Well, I think they're fortunate in the sense that they have that Fox deal closing,
with more
and they have the
characters.
ability to really kind of shift their perspective and go in. Like X-Men is a whole world they can explore.
Yeah, with
Right.
whoever's remaining from the Avengers if they want to.
Right.
You got Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, Galactus. Like you could do cool stuff with those
Yeah.
characters.
And so I think that without that, I think they might have struggled a little bit. I think the ideas to go more more into space. And I think that can get
Well, yeah.
pretty
And
crazy.
of course, Secret Invasion is coming, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. I think what you will see is probably like DC. Correct me if I'm wrong. My impression of Aquaman is that it is more the Marvel formula.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's so. Like, have you seen the Men in Black, the new Men in Black trailer?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw it and forgot about it immediately.
Right, but it has that exact same tone.
It has both Thor and Valkyrie in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Oscar Schindler.
Chris Hemsworth.
He's actually very funny. We can all like Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah,
I love that movie. I think it's
I know
so
you do.
good.
I know you do.
All right, so Jeremy, you're number 2.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes, this is also on my list.
I'm sure it would be on my list, but I haven't seen it yet.
Oh man, Dan. Oh, Jeremy, you start with this one.
Where do I begin? I mean, such high praise from literally every single person who's talked about it.
I don't think anyone who's seen it doesn't like it.
Yeah, so going into it, you have this.
You're a
high
psychopath if you don't like this movie, I think.
You're really trying to nitpick at it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just what a crazy concept just that comes out of nowhere, right? You just wouldn't expect a Spider-Man movie to kind of take this and run with it. There's something for everybody here. There's just you know what I mean, like whether you're a teacher or you're trying to become a teacher, you know what I mean? Like there's just
You're a teacher. It's for everyone. If you're a teacher,
there's two types of people.
or you're trying to be a teacher,
you know what I mean?
parent,
Yeah.
mentor.
Because there's multiple different
Right.
Spider-Men or
Yeah.
girls too, I guess.
Yeah.
Better going.
Spider people.
Yeah, and just the way they construct the story where everyone's involved, but obviously Miles Morales is at the heart of it.
Mm-hmm.
With Peter Parker kind of past his days, but still.
Oh man, the Peter Parker they have in this movie is so funny
Yeah.
and is so well like.
Well, it's two Peter Parkers, but
Yeah, I know, but like the main one,
Yeah,
right?
It's Nick from New
Nick
Girl.
from New Girl, and he just does Nick from New Girl as Spider-Man, and
Yeah, it's
it
perfect.
totally works.
Yeah.
It totally works. I can't say enough about this movie. Like it opens the door to so many possibilities that were just untapped. I talked about in BoJack being able to explore concepts and things that you can't do in live action
Yeah.
with high production animated superhero movies that people go to. I mean, like, Batman Mask of the Phantasm was in the theaters, but
Yeah.
that didn't make a bunch of money.
Well, this
right?
one did though, right?
This means okay money.
yeah.
It's not blowing down the doors or anything, but
blowing down the doors.
I think that's
I
a
don't
saying.
know if that's a saying.
He
Blowing
huffed,
down
he
the
puffed, and he blew down the doors.
pig in the movie.
Yeah. It just. So Jeremy, like I'm giving it a couple extra points because of the possibilities, kind of like you did with Titans,
Yeah, I can see that. For sure.
right? But also, like, you have to give props. Like, this is a whole new style
Yeah,
of movie.
it's
Like, the look of
audacious.
it is just. This is not a Pixar inspired movie. This is a comic book brought to life
Yeah.
in the most
It's
like
constantly-
loving way.
Constantly funny. Like,
Oh, it's always funny. It's never not
It
funny.
like blows your expectations on like what a joke within this movie could even be. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like that fourth wall breaking to a certain degree in certain parts.
But it's serious too. Like there's still a
yeah.
story.
There's a point where he throws a bagel at somebody, and it hits the guy in the head, and like the splash image, like the sound it makes, the onomatopoeia is just bagel.
That's pretty funny.
Clickety clackety click. Yeah, exactly.
But then there's just so much heart to it, especially towards the end, even with Nick from Nick.
Yeah.
What's his real name?
Jake Johnston.
Amazing.
Fake name.
Amazing scene where he kind of just lays it all out for Miles at one point, just in terms of when he's not really. He wants to do what he thinks he should do, but the responsibility level, like it's just not there yet.
There's this amazing scene, and Lord and Miller talk about it, and how every movie needs a scene where it's exposition dump, where we have to explain what is happening or what's important, that kind of thing. But they take this movie, and in this scene, they say, well, we don't want to just have these two dudes just standing there talking, right? That doesn't work. Like they every little thing that you think that they could perfect, they do. So in this scene, they're not just standing there talking. You're able to explore their powers because they're walking up and down the side of a building, and like they're sticking to it, and like Miles he's not quite there yet, so he's kind of struggling with it, and Peter is like literally like pacing, like standing up straight up on the side of a building, like pacing up and down, and all this like weird stuff, and there's all this visual exciting stuff happening while this exposition dump it's like everything that a movie could do wrong, because you could these exposition dumps often are like, oh, that's slow, clunky, be done better. No, they figured it out. They figured out a way to make it interesting and exciting and funny. The movie is essentially perfect. It's essentially a perfect film in the sense that from a plotting, like pacing perspective, from characterization perspective, from a visual perspective, it is essentially a perfect film. So if you don't know where I put it on my list, you might be able to have an idea.
I'm sure had I seen it, I would be up. It would be up there too. I had planned to take all my nieces. It was a stupid plan. I have 8 nieces and nephews.
You thought you were gonna take them all?
I was gonna take them all to the.
You know how much it costs to take
Well, that's fine.
8 kids to the
but like
movies?
it turns out like they don't have the attention span for it yet. Not all of them.
Yeah.
And like I forced them to watch Infinity War and Jurassic Park over the holidays, and I had to like hold them down.
Stop. Pay attention. This is good.
Obviously, didn't hold them down, but like they liked it to varying degrees. But they they're 5 years old. They don't have the attention span for a long movie like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like a bad, idea.
So I didn't take them because I didn't want them to be running around.
So you didn't go at all.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's weird to say that an animated Spider-Man movie is like essentially a perfect film, but it is in basically every way. So
awesome.
It absolutely deserves like the loving care they give to not just Spider-Man the character, but all of the supporting characters that are there, and the Easter eggs that aren't in your face. It's so entertaining. Like I want to see it like 10 times. And you'd probably see new and cool things every single time you saw it. So, Jeremy, anything else you want to add about Spidey?
I mean, you said pretty much everything. I think I agree with it. It's basically a perfect movie.
That was your number 2.
Yeah.
And that's obviously your number 1, Julian.
It is my number 1. Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah. If you're a kid, like you will love this movie.
Oh my God.
It's one of your favorite superhero movies ever, I think.
Man, the climax of the third act and this one moment is so cool.
And it's part due to Miles, like being relatable to Miles, and like just that being that like that at that time in your life when there's so much ahead of you that you need to like take on that challenge, that change.
You don't even know who you are, right?
Like you're dealing with all these new powers and all that stuff. So I just think they brilliantly like have this journey where he kind of just at one point he owns it, and it's like a great third act. Like,
oh man, and again, not possible in live action. There's just no way you could do that. Yeah. What did you think of like because obviously we're no spoilers, but we're in a different alternate time like universe of Spider-Man, right? What did you think of like the takes they had on of like the well-known characters like Doc Ock or Kingpin?
I thought Kingpin was very cool.
Yeah, I didn't like the visual style as much. The weird like high shoulders and like.
I think it was a bit overdone with his look.
Yeah.
But it was voiced by Leah Schreiber.
Yeah, that's really cool. The whole voice cast, by the way, amazing.
But it reminded me of like for some reason I was just picturing James Gandolfini as Kingpin this whole time. And I was like loving it. I just thought he would have been awesome.
Yeah.
In that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like Doc Ock as much. I think I'm so used to the typical the Spider-Man 2 take, which is essentially also the Spider-Man the game take of Doc Ock. When you get a very different version of it here, but I just think that also Scorpion was a little like a little crazy, but
cool looking,
yeah. The Prowler,
Ooh, that was cool.
Prowler, by the way, not a character I'm like super familiar with in Marvel Comics, but the way that they do it in this, is like an evil Batman kind of look to him with these.
It's very intense. Like these chase scenes were so on the edge of your seat.
Well, and so visually interesting too, like this bright purple and like mixed with like these dark blues and blacks.
It was basically just like an Incredibles movie. Or like
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
So I can't express enough how good this movie is. Everyone should go see it twice. All right. Dan, what is your number 2?
Infinity War, we already talked about.
Okay. And then, and my number 2 then is Mission Impossible Fallout. What a blast this movie is. It is so much fun. It is like, I was, I say this, I don't say this very like easily. I was on the edge of my seat this whole movie.
You say that easily. You say that every episode.
No, man. It just ramps up and it keeps ramping up on top of itself. You just think it can't get any crazier, or you think that's the last twist, and there's another twist. It gets crazier, and to the point where at the end he's defusing a nuclear bomb on the side of a cliff, and you're like, this is, and they do this very manipulative transition. Typically in a wipe, you'll get, or a typical like fade. It's fade through black to a new scene. They do a fade through white in one particular scene at the end that is such fucking bullshit, but it works so well. It works so well. Props to Tom Cruise. The guy basically kills himself to make these movies.
Yeah.
And he's just so entertaining to watch as Ethan Hunt. Like, to me, those two people are the same now. They're just, he is Ethan Hunt. You know, I always talk about how I can't see the character through Tom Cruise very often. It doesn't matter in the Mission Impossible movies because he is Ethan Hunt, right?
Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man.
Yeah, right. But beyond that, I think it's like they do some really cool things with the score. There's this one like dream type sequence that is very intense and like absolutely like is a perfect period to the middle of the movie to kind of decompress for a moment, and you're like, oh, okay, what's happening? And then it's like, what the fuck? And then it gets right back into it. Boom. And another foot chase, another car chase, helicopter chase. Like, if you want a pure action film that is going to be nothing but pure adrenaline from start to finish, Mission Impossible Fallout is your movie. It is so much fun. Absolutely great. Highly recommended. Watch it in IMAX. It's out of theaters now. But still, loved it. Okay, so that's number 1. Oh, no, we still have Daniel's number 1, because your number 1 was Infinity War, and my number 1 was Spider-Man. So, Dan, your number 1 is also. Should I put a like an asterisk next to this one too?
This year, and it's a feature.
Yeah, but
length.
it came out in 2019 though, right?
2018.
Did it not?
Oh yeah, shit. You're right. It gets an asterisk. Fuck, I didn't even think about that.
No.
I shouldn't even put that on the list.
That's fine.
Julian didn't realize till now either.
No, I definitely noticed.
That the other one makes sense. This one shouldn't be on the list, but whatever. It's fine. It's a great. It's really cool.
Well, if you assume that our year is between episodes of top 5s or top 3s,
then it counts.
Then it counts.
It counts. And this one honestly could have been any of the 3 categories. It's like part movie, part TV show because it's
part video game,
and it is part video game because it's a choose your own adventure.
Right. So it works.
It works, dude. It works.
It
works, and there's layers to it that you can't even.
Have you like replayed it, watched it?
I haven't had a chance to go back to it yet, and here's the thing. I know I've only scraped the surface. I had a couple different endings. You can go back in time.
Wait, so is it like a Mass Effect?
Yeah.
Is it a Mass Effect?
You are watching a movie. You have to have your controller in your hand at all times because you have to make choices. My PS4 controller. You'd be your remote if you're watching it on TV, but
yeah.
How do they?
Yeah, exactly. This thing blew my fucking mind. This is the dream, man. This is
I guess it's the streaming.
Apple remote, like you have the little buttons.
So it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
So Netflix had to be involved in terms of
Yeah.
This is
programming.
their like it's a Netflix
Yeah.
series, right?
They
Yeah,
produce
I'm
it.
saying they have to be involved in programming.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they
yeah.
have button input.
So like you start it up and there's this sequence where it's like explaining how to use the controls, and I thought that was part of the show, and then I realized like, oh shit, this is because I didn't look anything. I had no idea that that's how this.
Oh,
played.
really? You didn't know?
I thought it was
That's
just
the coolest. You went in blind to
Yeah.
a show that was a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
So this is like a new thing then.
But
Yeah, it's a
potentially.
whole new possibility for storytelling.
Which could happen in.
Well, okay,
Okay,
so
you
it's
got to
a
be careful with
right.
it though, because too much it would get old quick. It works
Right.
for this because it's
it's
so high concept.
it's Telltale Games, but with live action.
Kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it works for this because it's very meta. There are a million layers to it.
Think how much
I feel
footage
like
you need
it's
to film
gonna
for
be
this.
huge, though, 'cause you could just like, do I kill this person or not? And you click.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
You gotta just
Right.
see this scene. Play.
Everything is different. Every time
Okay.
someone sees a movie, it's
You
completely
guys have
different.
no fucking idea. You're thinking about it one.
He's like,
you're-
it's too small. You're thinking too
you're
small.
thinking too small for sure. There's layers to it.
We choose if a man dies,
You
Dave.
guys don't understand. Let me explain this to you. You can go back in time and make different decisions, but the characters will remember decisions that you made in previous
What?
timelines.
So it's even more complicated.
It's more complicated than you can fucking
so
imagine.
they, I like how they started with, they were like, okay, we're gonna make a choose your own adventure story, and they're like, someone in the writing room was like, wait, what if when you made a different choice, they remember the choice you made,
Sometimes.
and sometimes, and they're like, fuck, that's gonna be way
So here's-
harder.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I haven't beaten it yet. I haven't got to the
Is
end.
there a win?
So then
Is there a
when-
win?
So then the characters will know when you're lying. Then basically.
No. It's maybe that it's only sometimes it's only certain characters, and I don't know enough about the game, but I have theories about it. But okay, so
Wait.
the
So
ca-
there's definitely I've seen like
yeah,
I've
I keep
seen,
calling
like,
it a game, eh?
pieces of it, right? There's like pills involved. Is it like Limitless in
No,
some ways?
no.
Okay.
There are pills that you take, but the idea is
You don't take it. It's not a video game. It's characters in the show, Dan.
it's well, that's the thing. It blurs the lines and it gets to a point where it's hard to tell. And
Am I in the show? Is the show me?
yes, honestly, you start to question the concept of free will, and you do feel at one point like what if I'm in a game? Like it actually freaked me out in my
Oh, man,
apartment.
that's
There's
cool.
a point you can communicate with the character in the show, and he's aware that he's in a show, and you're making choices for him, and you're in the 21st century watching it on Netflix, and he actually calls it Netflix.
That's
It's
crazy.
insane.
Huh.
And I'm convinced.
He's losing his mind.
I'm unraveling a little bit here. I think I'm going to keep unraveling if I keep watching this show, but I want to keep doing it because I'm convinced there's a way to get to a specific end. Like there's a way to get to a
Happy ending.
to win essentially.
Yeah.
There's a million different endings. A friend of mine at work was
Not
saying-
literally a million, but
this guy I was talking to at work had said that he looked it up. Like he didn't look up how many endings or any.
yeah.
But the producers have said there are Easter eggs in this that will likely never be found because you have to go through the correct steps to get to them.
What?
That's how many permutations there are. right?
Imagine trying to make this. That's
insane.
so.
And here's the other fucked
crazy.
up thing about it. It's meta in this sense because the main character, is creating a video game where one of the first video games where you make choices in a choose your own adventure style video game. So he is
Huh.
creating this game where you are making these branching
Wait, so it's set in the
choices.
past?
It's set in the 80s.
Huh.
And so he is creating the game.
Is the
and-
game called Bandersnatch?
Yes, it is, and it's based off a choose your own adventure book, which I think is actually a real book.
Mm.
And
It's a weird name. but
There's a whole conspiracy about the book. The
really
author
wanna
killed
watch
his
this
wife.
now.
You gotta watch it. Like
You gotta go. Stop right now.
so good. That's it. The podcast is
So
over.
here's the thing. Okay, you can make choices. You can make bad choices, and you can die, or the story can end. Your character can go to jail, or there's a million things can happen.
Yeah.
Right, and that would be a ending. You get credits. Boom.
Yeah.
And then so the first time you do it, you think that you're done. Then it'll go to the screen where there's two TVs, and you can choose to go back to a choice, and you go back to that choice and make different choices. You can go a bit further down. And so I did that a couple times. You know, obviously there are times when you die. Or
This is
times-
what people wanted for Mass Effect 3, by
yeah,
the way.
yeah. And there are times when you think you've beaten the game, so it goes to credits, and then it goes to the creator of this game. But then there's a point where you get to control her. Like it's nuts. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to keep talking about it.
Interesting.
But here's the thing.
Already ruined it.
No, because I haven't even beaten it. I have no idea. Here's the thing, though.
Need a movie.
You can, like I was saying, you can die and come back, but you only
Spoil yourself.
have. Yeah, Julian, don't look it up, man.
I'm not looking up the ending. I just googled this.
look at any
I just
images.
googled the word Bandersnatch.
There isn't an ending. That's the point. There's a multiple different endings. But I think
Is
my
there a
theory-
right ending?
I don't know. My theory is you only have so many resets. You can only go back so many times before you have to restart entirely.
Interesting.
Because I got to a point where instead of going back to the 2 TV screens, it was just one, and it was credits, but the sounds were like a game over screen for a video game. That's what like the music was.
Interesting.
So that's what it evoked in me.
What's
anyways.
game over?
I can't. I'm not gonna sing it. You know what this sounds. It's like a sad sort of like go to sleep. That was terrible. Like, why didn't you make me do that?
That's why I wanted you to try. Okay, cool. All right. So
yeah, blew my mind. There's obviously a good chunk of recency bias to this. I'll admit that, but amazing, and again, very audacious project that they pulled off.
Okay. All right. So we have honorable mentions now. Jeremy, do you have any movies that you saw this year that just stand out to you in a meaningful way that just didn't make the list?
It's all obvious. You just say them all.
Well, I can tell all the movies I saw, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go through my honorable mentions, which are Bumblebee. So I saw Bumblebee recently, and I was blown away by how entertaining this movie is. It's so heartwarming, too. Yeah. It feels like, I mean, they really grasped the E.T. feel and turned it up to 10, right? Because there's no robots punching each other in E.T. But it has that same heartwarming feel to it that E.T. had back in the day, with the same, well, not the same, but like similar feeling jokes, like this, fish out of water type of thing, with this Bumblebee who's trying to hide from the government, right? And you have who's the bad guy? It's that wrestler. John Cena is the bad guy, and he is like a living cartoon. Like his face is like, looks like it can just be plastic into anything, and he's huge.
So he's like a government agent that hates the robot. And
but no, but like it's not that simple, right? Like so he's out to hunt down Bumblebee, but it's not as just like cut and dry as like
because he
mustache twirling.
Wants his technology or something like.
Well, yeah. Again, it's not that complicated, right?
Yeah.
It's just like they're aliens, we don't trust them, kind of thing, right? And you have Haley Steinfeld. I literally cried in this movie twice, guys. I cried at Bumblebee 2 times, and it might be because it's pretty manipulative. But there's this whole scene how part of the story how she is trying to rebuild this car that she was working on with her dad, but her dad died, right? And now she's struggling to like connect with her mom, and Bumblebee comes along and like this new car, right? That she's finally has some freedom. It's similar to the first Transformers in that way, but she like has this bond with Bumblebee that like as not a surrogate father, but like a piece that's missing.
Well,
right?
it's I can see it that filling the void. He's not replacing the father, but it's something that
right. And like she's going over different music with him, right? She's a big Smiths fan, right? It's set in the 80s, and he just like these little heartwarming moments that just work, and it's a very fun movie, and the action's really good and very clear. Jeremy, you'd like it. They basically there's this the way that the robots fight each other is like UFC, man. It's crazy. And there's some fun like Easter eggs for like the old G1 people too, and some fun camera tricks. How like they zoom out all the way to like through our galaxy to one of the planets like Neptune or something. It's not Neptune.
Come on, please. You're talking about our solar system, right?
Right,
not
our solar
galaxy.
system. Yes. Yeah. Whatever. One of the rocky ones.
They sumo through our galaxy all the way to Neptune.
One of the rocky ones way out there.
Book.
What are the rocky ones way out there?
Pluto probably is.
Maybe Pluto. About? Anyway, there's these 2 Decepticons, and they kill this Autobot, but you'll recognize us. Oh, it's fun. It's fun. The one part I like though is because these 2 Decepticons try to play nice with the humans to try to find. They're also looking for Bumblebee, right? And the guy's like, we can't trust them. Their name is Decepticons. Does that not ring any bells for anyone? So just fun stuff like that. I highly recommend Bumblebee. Also, Roma was a movie I saw recently as well on Netflix. The Alfonso Cuarón film, getting a lot of Oscar buzz. And this movie is an epic. It's a slow burn at first, I think. The first 40 minutes, I think, are pretty slow. But once you kind of grasp what's happening and realize once you've seen it that it's based on a true story, and how meticulously they rebuilt 1970s Mexico is unreal. Like some of these scenes have so many extras, like hundreds of them, and it just feels like you're living in that world with this this story that is so like heart crushing, but also like empowering at the same time. It's really good.
Yeah, it's on my list.
It's really good, and like I saw someone online describe it as like an epic. It really does feel that way. Like it's a large scale movie. It's long, and like I said, it can feel slow at times, but I think it's totally worth the whole thing. So, those are my honorable mentions. Dan, you have some as well?
Not off the top of my head. I didn't add anything to the list. I feel like I didn't really watch a lot of new movies, like movies that came out in 2018 this year. I have one that I watched recently. I think it's 2019 again, though. Then
just put it out there.
Caliber. It's again on Netflix. It's easy to find.
Caliber? Is it Excalibur?
No, it's just the word caliber, like a gun.
Like a gun.
Yeah. It's a pretty simple story, but
I think calibers are the bullets, actually. A different bullet caliber.
No, I wasn't. I'm gonna kill you one day. I really am gonna kill you one day.
Who uses a doorbell?
Gotta pause.
Who has a functioning doorbell? Is a better question. How did?
There's one at the back door.
Oh.
Maybe who knows?
Maybe she needs help.
You ring it twice for help. Dan.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So Dan, you had some honorable mentions as well. What are you thinking?
Well, I don't really have a lot. I did watch one recently. Again, it's 2019 though, so it is cheating, but whatever. Caliber. I watched it on Netflix. It's a relatively simple concept, but it's just a good example of like a tight, functional movie that again is a thriller.
It gets to the point.
It's like, yeah, it's not overly complicated, but it's just really about the characters and the situation that they're in, and then you just are along for the ride.
I like that.
Yeah. So the premise is just like two friends going hunting in Scotland, and then shit
happens. Yeah,
and
that's fun.
And it's like it's one of those sort of kind of slice of life, but like the simplest of things can go wrong and creates a huge kerfuffle. You don't use the word kerfuffle enough.
No, I agree. And then you also have The Land of Steady Habits. I've never.
Oh, did I put that on the list?
Yeah, and Green Book. I've never.
I forgot about. So I did put stuff on the list.
Yeah.
I just watched Green Book recently.
It's also getting a little Oscar buzz.
Yeah, it'll likely be one of the noms for Best Picture, or for Best Actor. Both Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali. I don't know who would get supporting and who would get lead.
They probably both get supporting.
Yeah,
that's usually how that works.
But it really is an acting.
Or one of them would get supporting.
It's really focused on their relationship. Viggo Mortensen is this Italian sort of enforcer character that is hired to drive Mahershala Ali
around the south.
So he's a pianist. He's like a genius, savant, whatever. Virtuoso is the word that they use actually in the movie.
Also a word not used enough, I think.
Yeah, it's a great one. So obviously it's some good old fashioned 1950s racism.
Can't buy that. You can't buy that.
So there's a ton of that. So the themes are fairly obvious, and it's just about both characters kind of learning about the other's perspective. While like obviously the purpose of his character going to the South is to maybe open minds a little bit about what a black person could be. Like it's to show that people aren't a stereotype, right?
Yeah.
To the South, where would be the most effective because traditionally that's where it was.
Yeah. We all know how that works. I've heard mixed things about this movie, that it can be a little on the nose and ham-fisted a little bit, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's just what I heard. It's what I heard.
There are a couple other weird layers to it. It's based on a true story, which is always great for an Oscar
also,
movie.
I think the surviving members of the family have like spoke out against the movie, but they don't like the rendition of it. Which is also usually not a good sign. But
the one thing I would say that I felt it was missing, like it felt like it was building up, like it didn't have a really satisfying climax, which is not a great way to sell the movie. I think you should watch the movie.
No, it's not on your list. It's on your honorable mentions.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's more about the journey than the destination, right? Blah blah blah. So it's really about their character interactions. I wanted one like really like meaty piece of drama to happen, and there's plenty of drama in the movie, but I just wanted a big like more of a fight between the two characters and to really like lay it out on the table. The antagonists are more the external characters, so Viggo Mortensen's character doesn't need to grow and change too much. Nor does Mahershala Ali's, although they both do to a degree, and they get used to each other, and they obviously have a lifelong friendship. Blah blah blah. I enjoyed the movie, but yeah, I just felt like it was missing one little piece there.
Okay, and what's the other one? You said it was the land of steady habits. Never even heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's.
What do you mean? Yeah. I forgot that by the way, I was just looking up last year's list because I wanted to compare it. We called it the Tobies. That was the first year we called it the Tobies. We didn't. We forgot to call it. Yeah, I mean we called it that. So we should probably bring that back. It's the Tobies. This is the 2018 Tobies.
Okay.
TOB.
Yeah, no, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Land of Steady Habits. I don't have a lot to say about this movie. It was. I was in a weird mood, I guess, when I watched it. You'd like it, Julian, though. It's Tom Mendelsohn. It's Krennic. Admiral Krennic is.
Ooh, I like him.
But it's just a story of a regular man, lived his whole life, got the corporate job, all that kind of stuff, but just felt that sort of existential ennui and made changes in his life. And then, so that part, like, a typical story would be sort of ending there, where he, decides to make the change, and that's the big triumphant moment where he's going to change everything. This movie starts with him having made the change and now dealing with the aftermath. So it's cool in that sense. So it's like, you don't necessarily win. You're the hero of that story when you make that change, but then you have to keep on living and deal with it.
It's the stuff that we never see.
So it's the stuff like how his wife is getting remarried and his kid is kind of going through his own stuff and blah blah blah, and he's dealing with all. And he's like, it's not a depressing movie. He's not like, there's not a lot of tears. He's not like sad. It's just like he's kind of a fucked up person, and everybody in the movie is as well. So it's a good movie.
Okay,
I enjoyed it.
Recommended. All right. In terms of disappointments, this one's easy. The Predator. We were excited. Is it The Predator? Yeah. Right. Yeah. We were excited about this movie. A return to form. We were hoping for Predator films, with Shane Black behind the camera, and it's not the case. It's not a return to form.
I still haven't seen it, but I remember the last time we watched it, you guys were like panning it, and it really made me want to see it. Like,
man, you got it. Like,
it sounds insane.
Yeah, the second half of the movie is just completely falls apart. Imagine driving a car and then just all the pieces are just falling off, and you're just in the steering wheel, and like that's it.
All these cool characters, what's going on here?
CG's not even good. Yeah, it's actually the CG is laughably bad at some points in this movie.
That's
yeah, which in 2018 is just not. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. With Fox, who's going out of business, so well, we'll see.
Don't make it good.
Yeah. It's going to Disney now, so we'll see what happens with that. Again, not to dwell on the negative. Any movies that didn't really do it for you this year, Dan?
Probably, but
you don't think about
they're
them.
not the ones that come to my mind,
Right.
because I didn't like them. Right.
I mean, sometimes it's so clear. It's like it's something you were excited for that it's like disappoints you, right? That's the whole point of the disappointment.
Had I seen
category.
Aquaman and hated it, that probably would have been there, right? Or any other movie, but.
Yeah, all the superhero movies this year were pretty much
Venom probably would have.
Yeah, except Venom is exactly what I expected it to be. So it can't disappoint you if you don't have any high expectations.
My problem is I really didn't see a lot of movies in the theater this year. So any movie, like, I was actively choosing to watch only movies that I wanted to watch, and I ended up liking them all.
Fair enough. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I want to go back through. I'm going to tell you your top 3 from last year, right? And I'm going to compare it with the top 3 from this year, and you have to choose, because you have to choose which one you would keep. Right?
What do you mean keep?
It's like which
list you
which list you exactly which list you would keep. Keep is a weird word, but like which one do you think had the better year, right?
Okay.
You
can't just throw stuff like that at it.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it at you. Okay, so for television, I'm just going to recap here quickly.
Real quick.
So me, first one, The Good Place Season 3, Star Trek Discovery Season 1, and BoJack Horseman Season 5. Dan, Black Mirror Season 4, Maniac, South Park. Jeremy, Titans. In movies, for me, number 1, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Mission Impossible Fallout, Avengers Infinity War. Dan, Black Mirror Bandersnatch, Avengers Infinity War, Hold the Dark. Jeremy, Infinity War, Spidey, Aquaman. Okay, so that's this year's list. Last year's list. We did do top 5s for the Tobies last year, by the way. And
So it's just a list.
it's this time of year. This is the list time of year.
Comparing lists right now.
He's all about
So,
lists and all about
we did-
comparing
we-
and making a choice between two of those lists.
Yeah, it's all about
You have
that.
to
How many hours have we recorded
All right,
for?
The Handmaid's Tale, The Deuce, and The Good Place were my top 3 last year. Dan, you were Legion, American Gods, and Stranger Things. Jeremy, This Is Us.
Watch TV.
Just This Is Us. Movies: Blade Runner 2049, Logan, Star Wars: Last Jedi. Dan, Logan, Dunkirk, Get Out. Jeremy, Logan, Dunkirk, Last Jedi. So I think for me, it's pretty clear that last year I think was for me at least I think a better year. In my mind.
Last year, my TV list I think was better.
Oh,
but,
absolutely.
This year's better for superhero movies, though, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Logan though.
Yeah, no, but I've seen the Spidey, Aquaman.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Infinity War, Black Panther.
No, that's a good point too. Yeah, well, it's hard to beat Spider-Man really, even with Logan. Like Logan's like almost a perfect superhero movie as well. I think so. Is it even a superhero movie? It's hard to say. Okay, so Dan, you're going with your TV list from last year.
I don't know what you mean by going, but yeah, okay, yeah.
Games list now.
Okay, all right, fine.
Yeah, you're right. Like I think last year, in terms of the list, was better, and I
Mm.
probably watched a hell of a lot more TV last year too.
Almost definitely. It's hard to I'm looking at my list. Dunkirk. Julian, where's my list here? Logan, Blade Runner, and Star Wars: Last Jedi. Whew. Those are.
Get rid of Blade Runner, but yeah,
What are you talking about? Blade Runner 2049?
yeah, you can get rid of it. Yeah, did we all watch it together?
I don't
No,
think so. No.
I saw it.
I don't think you saw it.
It's not even on your. It's not on your
promise,
list.
I know it's not on my list. I saw it. That's why it's not on my
It's
list.
not. It's not on your list either, though. Well, actually, no, it is. It's on number 4.
He's the Blade Runner.
Yeah.
He runs around with scissors,
He's
right?
the Blade Runner. That movie's really good, man.
It's okay.
I think about it like more than I should probably. Very
Yeah,
fun movie.
I can agree with that.
So I would take my movies from last year and my TV from, or my movie. Yeah, both lists.
Turns out last year was better. Turns out as you get older, everything gets worse.
Just one year at a time, constantly
just
worse.
slow entropy and nothing matters. And
So same for you, Dan.
Yeah,
probably.
I think so.
Okay.
Although Infinity War, like again, like I keep coming back to it being the culmination of everything that we've been talking about for the past 10 years.
yeah.
It is an event. You can't understate it.
Yeah, that's fair. One of
And
your
Bandersnatch is amazing.
It
and
it blew your mind.
you guys don't understand, man. You play it, it'll blow your mind
All right,
too.
so let's jump into the games. If you're tuning out now, actually I want to know if you're not sticking around for the games. Let me know that you're not sticking around because I want to kind of get an idea of what our audience is into. So we're gonna get into our game stuff. Same idea, same format. Top 3 of the year. These are pretty similar though. These lists, but turns out these are the best games of the year anyway. So I think we're doing okay.
and
right.
a lot of these games would have been the best game of the year in previous years. Like they're just all good games.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what we picked last year.
Goodness.
Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Mario Odyssey was mine. Dan, yours was Shadow of War, Middle Earth Shadow of War, Rime, and For Honor. Right. So
Yeah.
I can tell you for sure this year's list is better.
Each one of the games on my list this year are better than all of the games on my last year's list.
Yeah. I don't know. Mario and Zelda are pretty good. I know you hated Horizon for some reason, but
Yeah.
that was also a pretty good
You
game.
don't know the reason.
It has everything you'd want, but somehow hates
I'm
it.
not going to tell you.
All right, so let's start with who hasn't started one yet. Dan, have you started one? Dan,
Who's- I don't
you're number 3.
What did I put?
Super Smash
I
Brothers.
put Super Smash. Okay.
Super Smash Brothers
Super Smash
Ultimate.
It has to be on the list.
Does it have to be?
It certainly does.
Does it
because
have to be?
Depends on what kind of list.
Is it a movies list? Because then it doesn't have to be on that list.
similar to Infinity War, it's a culmination of previous Smash Bros. Games.
Yep.
This is the ultimate version, has every character, blah, blah, blah. But it also works, right? There have been iterations of the game that don't work and are very disappointing.
Well, because every game has been bigger than the last one. This is the biggest one. And this one somehow manages to not only be the biggest, but the most, like the tightest, too.
Well,
right?
I mean, Melee was pretty tight, I think.
Yeah, but it
was a different time.
it was a different time.
No, Melee's the fastest.
It's the fastest, and I would also argue that it's not the tightest because wave dashing and stuff is a form of breaking the game.
Sure, this is the most balanced of the games.
I think it's not even there yet. I think Melee.
of all-
Melee wasn't very balanced.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It might be the most balanced.
This is the most.
Yeah. This. Yeah.
The only thing that is lacking in this game is the single player isn't it's for me lackluster. It's
I-
kind of a little.
I think
one
it'll
note.
be the most balanced because you're able to patch it in a way that other Smash Bros. Games
Sure,
weren't ever
sure.
to be able to be patched.
But the other thing, this game is on my list because I'm gonna probably put more hours into this game than any of the others.
Mm.
Right? It's in terms of playing it. I'm gonna come back to this game more than the others.
And that is why it is at
more than
number one.
more than Melee.
No, I mean more than any of the games on my list.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Oh, okay. I
Like,
thought you break it down.
It's the same reason I put For Honor on my list last year. Like, it's a multiplayer fighting game. I'm going to be playing a lot of it.
Right.
On,
Yeah.
Online.
79 characters.
Right. So the other games are great games, but they're more single player story,
Mm.
narrative driven,
Mhm.
and this is.
And
this
that's what
is-
I meant by like defining the list because
Yeah.
Smash
Yeah.
isn't necessarily.
It's hard to how do you
It's not-
how do you
it's not-
compare it to Red Dead? Like, you know
yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
not- It's not pushing the medium forward in
No.
terms of what Red Dead is doing.
But it's mastered Smash.
Exactly. So it's kind of like with Mortal Kombat 3 and Ultimate came out after.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's just kind of like perfecting what it
Do
is.
people consider Mortal Kombat Ultimate? Is that even a game?
There was Mortal Kombat 3, and then there was Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate.
Oh,
Which
okay. I see. I didn't know that.
basically made Mortal Kombat 3 like useless.
Yeah, this doesn't need to exist.
Scorpion wasn't even in that game.
In the original
In the
Mortal Kombat
original
3.
Really? Okay. That is weird.
Things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So with the Wii U version of Smash, it's like the same thing, right?
Yeah.
In that.
And then they tried to do it again with Mortal Kombat Armageddon and had all the characters, but it just wasn't as tight.
Yeah. Okay.
For me though, like it is my number one. I've been watching it on Twitch a lot and some of the competitions that are going on right now. It's such a fascinating time because all the high level players right now are figuring out the game, figuring out the characters, figuring out all the
Yeah. The tier lists aren't even done
yeah,
yet.
they're changing every day.
Yeah.
So it's super exciting to watch. And while I'm watching this game, it's almost made the Smash Wii U Brawl completely obsolete. They're just not fun to watch compared to this one.
Oh, yeah. Brawl's
one
got
is
people are tripping randomly for no
Yeah.
I
reason.
think tripping might happen. It's not like to that degree. I think it's a different scenario how it plays out. But this one is so exciting to watch.
You think tripping exists in this game?
It's not to the same degree. It's like a different thing.
Something. It's like it's a mistake that you make.
Yeah.
Right.
It's if you roll a bunch or something like that.
Right,
I think that's
okay.
what
Oh yeah, because your rolls get less and less effective if you
Right.
overuse them.
Yeah. But it's just so exciting to watch how these battles play out. The edge guarding is on a whole new level
Yeah.
now.
It's huge.
You can go further, jump higher. Like
It's faster.
faster.
It's so fast. It's not as fast as Melee, but it's
just
fast.
so fun to watch. I love watching it.
Yeah.
It's like the one game on Twitch I watch.
It's one of for me. It's the game I go back to most now that I've done Red Dead.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to jump into Red Dead Online. But it's just I'm always finding out new things about characters every time I play someone online. Right? Like there's like someone I played.
Strategies.
Yeah, like I played a guy who was playing DK the other day, and he beat me the first time. I played him again. And I beat him the second time because he's like just these different. I just never play. I never see him when he plays
See,
DK.
and this is why you never understood why I like fighting games so much, but that's what it is. It's like it's different strategies. You adapt to the person.
Right.
You're
So
playing.
I always understood that about fighting games. I just never got behind the controls for
Yeah,
fighting
okay,
games.
fair enough.
That so this has always been the fighting game that works for me because I can grasp the controls. Right. It is the most accessible fighting game that also has
Depth.
a ton of depth.
Yeah.
Right. As wide as an ocean and as deep as an ocean.
Good one.
Yeah. Because they say it's like it's like it's wide as an ocean, but it's as deep as a
Probably
deep as
a
a puddle.
pond.
Deep
Yeah.
as a puddle.
Yeah.
Right. This is both
ju-
things.
it's just an ocean.
It's just ocean
It's
that's
just-
it's also deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Smash. I think it has to be on your guys' list. It's on my honorable mentions. It's not on my list. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
The thing with our list, I think they're all like the games are like essentially just interchanged, but they're the
Yeah.
same games, right?
Yep. So my number 3 is Marvel's Spider-Man because oh boy, what a good time that is.
It is.
Just swing around as Spider-Man. I haven't felt that good since Spider-Man 2, right? For the PlayStation 2 and GameCube, I think. And it just
I don't know. Web of Shadows was pretty good.
this is next level stuff, man.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
like the music, like the way it looks, the way it controls, like this adaptation of this Arkham style combat, which has kind of become like the de facto action combat style, third person action style that is just different enough that makes it feel like you're Spider-Man in a satisfying way.
Yeah, they
Right.
could have put a bit more work into the combat mechanics. I think.
I think it feels that way at the beginning, and then it really like gets a lot better
It
closer to
feels
the end of the
like
game.
it's too easy, and like you end up seeing a lot of the same animations over and over
There's a lot
again.
of people who say that they didn't even like utilize all their kind of weapons and stuff too.
The gadgets, yeah. You don't need to use a lot of those, but like,
But
what
I'm
I'm-
saying if you incorporate it, might look.
Yeah, it's more
no, but like,
Arkham-y when you do
it's
that.
fine because you're comparing it to Arkham, which is the best one. But like the way they incorporate quick fires and you keep your combos going, like it has more depth in Arkham than this one does. This one you can just
I've heard people say the other way around, which is interesting. Either way, I think it's satisfying combat, but I think it's beyond just those things. It's more than just web slinging, right? And combat. It's also like a really strong story, a really great Peter Parker story that is. It's like, how is it taken it this long to get this? Like, why is it 2018 that this finally happened? We had the Arkham games, and even those, like, the stories are good, but they're hardly like great stories.
I would probably disagree with that. I think they're pretty good.
Really?
They're like really good.
Really?
The Arkham.
How is it? What's the story, Dan?
Well, except for the way the first game ends is pretty comic booky with a giant Titan Joker, but they continue that, right, and that actually affects Arkham City where Joker's dying from that, and then in Arkham Knight for Joker to be in Batman's head, that's insane. They're really good stories.
I think they're compared to this, like a well built out story. I think it's next level.
Dini was a part of the writing too for the first two games
of Arkham, yeah. But yeah. So Spider-Man, easy pick.
I struggle with it. This one is I interchange that with Smash. So Smash is my number 3. This is my honorable mention.
Yeah, I could depending on the day, depending on the mood, I think I could switch it around.
It is a great game, and it is a great story. There were just a few pieces that I felt were missing, and mostly the gameplay mechanics, and it seemed a little repetitive at times, like the combat. So it just feels a little fetch.
Well, you see a lot of the same missions, right? Like stop this car.
Yeah,
and like find this guy in this trunk for some reason.
That's another problem I think a lot of people have with it is that it's almost a game that's still trapped in that old ideology of a sandbox game.
Yeah, you know what a game that's not like that? Red Dead.
But that's why I think it's still good that we got this because I think we need.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
That last ditch.
It's the last hurrah.
And it's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? The DLC is still coming out, and the DLC is really good too. And
I never go back to play DLC. I never do it. I can't think of a single time I've played DLC.
So what Uncharted 4? Lost Legacy. Is that what?
Yeah. That was almost
it's like its own game basically. Yeah, I did play that one.
I pretty much buy the season pass for any game.
But like, there was DLC for Arkham City. But there was a whole Sub-Zero thing that I never played it. Yeah. Mr. Freeze. I said Sub-Zero.
You said Sub-Zero. That was
it's the same thing. Yeah, I never played that. I've never gone back and played DLC for almost anything. It's so weird. It's like once I'm done with the game, like I'm not like if there was story DLC for God of War, I'd have a hard time going back to do it because
you're missing out.
There is none, by the way, but it's like
other games.
I would just say like getting back into the controls and stuff can be tough, and like jumping back into Spider-Man, I feel like might take me a while to get back into it. I don't know. There's always new stuff to play. I just downloaded Mirror's Edge Catalyst from 5 years ago.
So we talked about Smash, talked about Spider-Man. Let's go with you guys' number 2 pick.
God of War. Yeah. Totally changes the game for God of War.
Yeah, and that's why it made my list is that it was doing something different, but still satisfying with a known.
I'm surprised this isn't your number 1 pick.
I know it was tough.
This is like I feel like
because a lot of people have picked this over Red Dead.
Yeah.
As well. So I was like, okay. But
I thought for sure, Dan, because like this is your game.
Yeah, I know they're neck and neck. Man.
I haven't played, but I watched that one boss battle. I was just blown away by how cinematic.
It's unreal what they do with this game.
It is very cinematic. It does a lot more character work with Kratos than you're used to in the previous.
That's certainly
games.
true.
And
But I mean, it's a low bar.
Yeah, for sure. But that's something that was needed.
Zeus, your son has returned. Fire.
What it did really well, though, granted, I played it on the hardest difficulty level, but it actually the game itself was hard. Like
it's a hard game. I died a lot early on, especially.
The other thing that it does, I can't tell whether or not I'm a fan of it. Was it also has a sandbox element where you can go around and explore the world.
But it's pretty small though.
You might encounter enemies that are level 30 and you're just not ready for them, so you're gonna die. So it is a sandbox, but like you are limited because you kind of have to follow the story anyways, right?
It's not so much a sandbox as it is like a central hub zone.
Do you know who to avoid then if you know if like you just can't
You can when you encounter an enemy, it'll show their level, and if they're more powerful than you, I think it would be like purple or red or something like that.
Yeah,
so it's like you don't have a good chance of beating this enemy.
You know that it's not even worth it to engage.
Yeah, but then you would get a better reward if you do beat them, right?
So it's like Pokemon, right? You just like training in the wild.
And you level up.
Yeah, totally like Pokemon.
Yeah, it's God of War. It's exactly like and you know it's the first foray into Norse mythology.
Yeah.
What excites me most about God of War is the next version.
They also they tease like Egyptian stuff in this game.
Yeah, there's other mythologies, right? Babylonians.
Yeah.
This is the first one. I want to see the God of War 2 and 3 versions of this world.
You didn't want to see God of War 2 and 3 of the original God of War?
What?
What
are you saying right now?
Is it you didn't feel that way about the original God of War?
No, I loved them. I loved every God of War game ever made except for Ascension.
What do you want to see exactly?
You even play the PSP games?
I want to see the continuation of this story in Norse mythology because obviously you're going to get to Thor and eventually Odin, right?
Okay.
In this game, it's just Baldur, and they don't really do a deep dive into Norse mythology that much in this game. The next one will, right?
You might as well. I mean, you can't just keep doing the same old
Yeah,
stuff.
so this one, like, you're essentially Baldur's the only real enemy, or Thor's sons are in it too as sort of mini bosses. And Jormungandr is in it as well.
You just want to say that.
I did just want to say it.
That the world snake,
the world serpent. Yeah.
But you don't. You think you have to eventually fight the world serpent?
Yeah, you're gonna kill. It's God of War. You're gonna kill everything.
Oh, yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, here's the thing.
Odin, your son has returned.
Sequel to Spider-Man in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hope and
That'd be another great year for.
I
video
hope that
games.
we get them on PS4 though, not on the PS5, not on the PS5.
Man.
I'm not.
You get on both.
Yeah, maybe it'll be Wind Waker or not Wind Waker. What's the other one? Twilight Princess. Yeah. Situation.
Wind Waker was remade.
Yeah, but Twilight Princess came out on the GameCube and the Wii at the same time, basically. And the weirdest thing about that is the world was flipped around in both versions of that game, because the Wii remote had to have Link is right-handed, but in all the other games, Link is left-handed. So they just, instead of changing which hands you use, they flipped the whole world, mirrored it. Floop. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
Okay, so number one game for me and Dan.
Yeah, which is my number 3, just because I haven't had too much time with it, but I've watched like a lot of stuff.
Man. Okay, so it's Red Dead Redemption 2. So there's a couple things. Dan never played the first Red Dead, which I think is so interesting to me. The way that you see this game is not completely different. I think very different from the way I see this game and the characters in it. And I think Arthur Morgan is one of the best video game characters ever made. It's like not even close for me. He is such an interesting character, and it really brings in the whole redemption name like full circle in this title, which doesn't really work as well in the second one. They just wanted a cool name, I think, in the original one. John's quote unquote redemption isn't much of a redemption, is what I'm saying. So, Red Dead Redemption is the most relaxing game I played all year, the most exciting game I played all year, the most engaging game I played all year, the best looking game I played all year. It's not even close. It's miles ahead of the rest. It's a world. It feels like a living, breathing world in a way that no other game I've ever played feels like.
It's on a different level. It's a different type of game. When you say it's the reason it sort of edged out God of War. You would think God of War being an action title. There's high
it's
stakes,
tighter, I would
more
say.
epic game.
Yeah.
Red Dead is just like your cowboy simulator. Like, I'm gonna go into this world, but it's just like you said, engaging. You want to be in there and just do whatever you want in that world.
You played Black Hat too the whole time, which is really
no. Well, no, I did. I was like kind of grayish. Like, towards the end, I just like decided to commit and be Black Hat.
right.
But I was already John at that point.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Spoilers.
Whatever.
Yeah, I basically played this game White Hat the whole game, essentially. It's tough because the decisions you try to make when you have full control, I tried to make good choices, but Arthur Morgan is his own characters, and he makes his own choices when you don't have control sometimes, which can conflict a little bit. That'd be one of the things that I would say in terms of like nitpicking the game. A lot of people had problems with the controls. They felt them to be clunky and slow.
Yeah, 100%.
I think they're fine. I think they're totally fine.
The thing you got to get used to is it doesn't play like a regular video game. You're not meant to be sprinting around at all times. You just
Arthur Morgan's like a middle-aged man. He's like slow. He moves.
Yeah.
You're slow and like weird. Yeah, you'll get weird GTA moments where you get like hit by a horse or like like flipping around and like that stuff happens and like whatever.
I think the game is actually designed for you to walk and actually enjoy, like take it in, experience.
And I do.
Even when you're on your horse, you're not galloping.
I feel it. I feel it like all the time. And I'm like, you just walk through a town. And like that if you follow people, like if you just start following somebody, they like start freaking out.
Yeah,
like just little details. You can find a vampire in Saint Denis if you find all the right like clues. You'll find this guy like sucking blood from this person, and you kill him presumably, unless you probably get killed if you don't.
But
you can kill people anyway.
Do that too.
Yeah, you can just hog tie anyone you want.
I got real creative with ways I killed people in that game.
What do you think that means about what do you think that says about you as a person? Because you told me about these things last time we did our little spoiler cast thing, and I was like, didn't even occur to me to do these things to people. Give us a couple examples.
Well, they were bad people.
Give us a couple examples.
I just wanted to find.
Give us a couple examples.
Like, I got sick of killing people with just a knife or a gun. So like, you could hog tie someone and toss them in a lake. Whatever, it's been done.
Easy.
But you could also drag them behind your horse for a while until they die just from being dragged, or drag them through water. I used to tie people up and put them in a fire.
Holy crap! Did you ever drop anyone off of like?
Do you think we should be concerned?
I think I might be concerned. Yeah, I'm a little concerned about Daniel's like mental state.
Would tie people up and then like drag them with my rope, like I'm on a mountain, so that they're not on the mountain, so that I'm like dragging them along.
Video games might have a point then.
Well, this is a healthy expression of his inner rage.
Tied people up and put predator bait next to them so that a bear would come and kill them. I sat and watched.
That is brutal. Do they scream?
Yeah.
Oh no.
But it's just like it's not like the bear's eating them and they're screaming. It's just like it does a video game hit and they're dead.
Oh, okay.
It's not that crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever? I saw wolves attacking a bear once in like the north.
Yeah.
On a frozen lake, and it was one of
cool.
the coolest things that I was like on this lake, and you're going on it. It has this really cool like ice sound when you walk on it with your horse.
Yeah.
And I hear like this some growls. So I like whip around, and I see off in the distance, right at the edge of the lake, a bear, like a massive grizzly bear, and a whole pack of wolves trying to like take it down. It killed one of the wolves, and then the the rest kind of like backed away and then took off. And I was like, oh shit, the bear's gonna come after me next. So I hid in a cabin at the end of the lake, where I found a note about a young lady who was trying to become like a figure skater, like an early version of figure skating, out practicing on this lake, but she died.
Wow.
Turns out the most times you find anything, they're because people die. People
die
die a lot in the West.
Tragedy.
You know the movie 1,000 Ways to Die in the West? This game is that game or that movie without the humor. Like you die. There's so many ways to die in this game. Yeah. It's but I mean beyond that, I think the story is so well written. The way you interact with your other gang members is so, it feels so natural that when it's like the story, something happens in the story, you're so attached to them because you just hung out with them in camp. And there's no game that's ever done anything like that. The hours of recording they would have to do for that much dialogue is mind blowing. Yeah. Right? Like you're talking like thousands of pages of scripts.
And again, this game has a lot of depth. There are parts of the game that I haven't even touched that I know, like like even like side missions or like little mysteries that you can find. There's
or like
have you gone in
maps. Have you gone in like even YouTube some of the alternate versions of the story that happens if you're playing White Hat?
No, but I've heard different people's endings. Like there's a couple.
There's about 4 endings, but there's other scenes are different depending on you for White Hat too. Yeah. Like there's a scene later in the game where you put someone on a train and you run into somebody at the train station, and depending on which version, like where you are on the scale. Full black hat, gray, or white hat, you run into we get a different dialogue option or a different person altogether. Yeah. Right. So you probably ran into Strauss at the train station. I saw the nun at the train station, and it's such an amazing just exploration of this character, this conversation that he's having with whatever character you're talking to. It's so real. Like it feels so real, and it's like it's not just because it looks good enough. It's because it sounds good enough, and the world is built up so well that it all fits together as a cohesive whole. I love this game.
Yeah. It's a work of art. Like it's just it's different than any game that's ever been made. It's a whole
this is the experience. I had a very similar experience the first time I played Red Dead Redemption. Although I did stop at Mexico and then come back and finish it. But the end and like the way it's told with the first story, then the epilogue, and the way how that affects for me my perception of the next game, and you who's never even played the other game, right? Is pretty cool. So.
If I get the chance, I'd love to.
You should go back and play it, man. Yeah. Should we do you want to do an Arthur Morgan impression off? No. No, you sure? I can do a pretty good one.
You've been practicing.
I can do a pretty good one. God damn it, Dutch!
No.
And he says "sons of bitches" a lot. Die, you sons of bitches! And also, sure.
He says sure a lot.
Sure.
Ah,
well, sure.
You guys sound like you have an accent.
Sure. Because he has like a Western twang to it, right? Sure. And then there's the other, another favorite is we're more ghosts than people, which is one of my favorite lines from the whole game.
My favorite is the way the character, like his former love is just when she writes a letter to him, she's like, "Oh, Arthur," and the way she pronounces Arthur.
It's such a tragic love story. Yeah. They're gonna run away together, but it was never meant to be.
Never quite got.
They're essentially Anakin and Padme.
Wow. No, not at all.
I know. Jim, do you have any thought? I know you said you haven't been able to explore this. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's our list then. Yeah, that's it for 2018. The Tobies. Any final thoughts? Anything you're looking forward to next year, or any predictions or New Year's resolutions you have in terms of film, television, gaming, anything?
I'd probably like to go to the theater a bit more. Like obviously Avengers, probably Captain Marvel, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
But in terms of the show and like what we're doing, I would like to do more of the car stuff that we did with Predator.
More car casts.
Yeah. Well, just like immediate reactions, like right out of the theater, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of fun. So I'm gonna try to do more of that. I'd like to think that my Cinemia membership is going to continue, which will allow me to see more movies, but it's been acting up on me, which I'm not very happy about. But even then, I'm still going to go see a lot of movies next year. I saw less this year than I saw the year before, but I think again, partially I was just indisposed for about 3 months of the year, which plays a huge role in that. I saw like 5 movies in theaters in like November and December.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's really
so yeah. Jeremy, what about you? Do you have anything you aspire to see a couple more TV shows maybe next year?
Yeah,
no?
I don't see that trending that way.
No? More game? We could do more gaming?
Yeah, Smash for sure. I'm going to play a lot of that. I'm going to Switch soon. So.
Tonight maybe.
Red Dead I'm going to play. God of War I'm going to play.
Okay.
Yeah. Just behind you.
Yeah. I think I
don't know. Next
sounds like his year is going to be good as our year was.
There's plenty of movies and TV. I don't know what I'm looking forward to in terms of video games next year. Or this year.
Right. I mean, obviously Game of Thrones is huge, right?
Yeah. Game of Thrones and Young Justice are going to be...
Can't wait. I can't believe you're that excited. You're that blown away by Young Justice,
I'm fucking excited for Young Justice.
Right.
You guys don't remember... I feel like you don't remember. Young Justice is an amazing TV show. It's a really...
I definitely remember. I just... it's like... When you compare it against Game of Thrones, it's like I just have a hard time.
Is probably...
Why don't you want to watch Titans then?
I do want to watch it. I just haven't made the time to watch it.
Yeah, it's just Young Justice in real life.
I think Young Justice is probably the best.
Young
It's the best animated DC show.
Yeah,
I think it's better than like
Batman the animated series.
I think it's better.
Oh, I don't know, Dan.
I do.
I read the Blu-ray.
Did you? Fuck.
They're all good.
I'm so excited for you.
Justice League is good as well, but
I'm gonna steal it from you. Is that a different cover?
No, it just doesn't come with the Funko Pops. And it's way cheaper.
Oh, sweet. Okay, well, send me a link to that. All right, so that's it for 2018. The beginning of a whole new year. So many possibilities. So many.
Yep. New year.
Yep.
Only 4 more to go.
What? What?
Well, just saying.
I don't. No, are you saying? Wait, what are you suggesting here?
I know some things you guys don't know. Hold on.
4 more to go. Is it Armageddon?
I don't know.
Ooh, is it like the movie 2001, where the oceans just rise up and
We'll
flood
see.
the mountains?
We'll see.
Okay.
2023.
I just made it up, you motherfuckers.
All right. Well,
So I think it's a funny thing to say to people.
do you think we'll reach 150 this year? We're at 129, episode 129. It seems likely.
Yeah.
So we should probably. We never did one episode 100. It does not exist. So maybe we can do like. It does probably. Maybe we can do like a big 100, 150 episode.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would look
I
like.
want to go back. I'm never gonna do. None of us are ever gonna do this. But I want to find like we have like lost episodes. You know, like we have like or just like behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. You could find a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Including in this one.
Yeah.
All right. We will be back next week, presumably. I think that's the plan. Should be.
Yeah.
I hope we'll try to be.
Back to business.
Yeah, back into the grind, the daily grind, right? Of rise and grind, right? That's the thing that people say. That's not a thing.
Nobody in the world.
No one has
ever
said that in a long. Not in 2018. I think it was a 2017 thing.
No one's ever said rise and grind.
Yeah, people have said that.
Especially like that.
They
Yeah.
said it specifically like that. That's why I said it like that. It's fine.
Ugh.
Anyway, we'll be back